We are adding LinkedIn to the mix.
Ooh.
Welcome. Let me hit my banner real quick. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Unlocked podcast with your host, Cristina Moceri, and my co-host, Brian Fink. And boom, give you a little...
double up,
And I don't know how we remove it.
Girl, you got to remove it.
It's online.
You press hide. All right.
It's automatic.
Automagical.
So welcome to the floor, James Ellis. We are so happy to have you.
Me? Why?
Yeah.
Dude, you are James Ellis. You are the high priest or priestess. I don't know what your pronouns are.
Yeah.
You're the high priest of employer value proposition and employer branding.
I'm more
Everybody
of a warrior
who's tuning
poet.
in, all the party people. We got Cristina. We got James. I've published multiple books, Ellis, on the program. Welcome to the big show.
The big show. This is the big show. Excellent.
Yeah, you're on the big show. I mean, this was one of those miraculous times where I think I'm just going to take the front end here. I had a flooded inbox after one, I think it was a few lives ago, and I've been trying to chase up to it, but James was in my inbox, and I found a gem that, you know, we've turned a leaf in our growth here where we're having speakers.
We're like a tree. We turned a leaf.
Yeah, speakers are coming to us and we're loving it. And when I dropped the name on the phone with Brian was like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, and
That
here
guy?
we are.
That guy? Really? That guy?
I was like, what do you mean?
You hit me with that press kit, and I was like, oh yeah, here we go. Mm-hmm. I aspire to emulate that.
It's a Google Doc. Come on, it's not that hard.
I know, but I mean, it's all in one place. It's awesome.
But it is a Google Doc. You are not using the other one, which has the AI worked into it, Notion doc.
No.
Wait, what? You have another doc that I wasn't.
Shit, girl, he's got one doc. Don't worry about it. You're fine.
I don't even really use Notion.
You are not missing out on anybody's docs. Sitting on the dock of the bay.
Before we continue, can I just, James, your TikTok handle for the TikTokers that have been here with us?
I'm sure it's employer brand nerd.
That's what I thought. It's at employer brand nerd.
That's me.
I've tried to add him as a guest. Brian is a guest and the host. I don't know. We'll figure it out eventually, but we're here.
Here
we
are.
Got 75 hearts, bunch of people on. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. And go follow James, and Brian is the Brian Fink on TikTok.
I am the Brian Fink. But let's get back to James Ellis, the brand nerd.
Yep.
James, real quick, you got a big day coming up on Wednesday. You are the host with the most, rocking our socks at TA Week. You want to talk a little bit about that, and then we're going to get into who you are and what you do. I just want to make sure that Kara's listening and knows that I'm pulling double duty for her today.
Kara listens. Kara knows all. Kara hears all. She knows all. She understands who's pumping up TA Week. No, I am emceeing the employer brand day of TA Week on Wednesday.
Nice.
I'm not sure if tickets are available. You just go to TA Week and figure out what's what. I'm not the guy who sells tickets, but I am super excited. We got a lot of great people, a lot of obvious people who you've heard before, who always have great stuff, and a couple of people who you haven't, which is what I'm excited about. Not that people I've heard before can't bring new stuff. They always do, but I'm always Audra's got a whole panel. I'm excited to see what she's putting together, and she's closing the show out. So, I'm not even going to go through the whole list. There's a lot of good people. You should definitely check it out if you can.
Awesome. So, James, besides being in Chicago, what do we need to know about you, the employer brand nerd?
I think about employer brand more than any other human being possibly ever. It's just a disease. It's a problem. Doctors have been alerted. We have, the CDC is on standby. They don't know how to cure this. It's just how it is. I write about employer brand. I talk about employer brand. I do employer brand. I occasionally podcast about employer brand. I newsletter about employer brand. I write articles about it's. I got 4 books. It's it's all I do. So, anything that's really, look, here's the deal. Employer brand matters for one simple reason, because I'm old and I've had a lot of jobs, and I've had some jobs that were amazing, and I've had some jobs that sucked. And they looked exactly the same from the outside. And that is wrong on so many levels, including morally. An employer brand is how you crack that apart and say, look, what do people really want? What are we really offering? How do we create that match? It's not about generating more applications. It's not about looking good. It's not about getting awards. It's about finding a lid for every pot, the best fit, the best candidate for both sides of the table. And that's why I'm so, yeah, you're right. Homespun, that's me. But that's why I'm so obsessed with employer brand. It's crucial on all sides. And I think, we can have a whole conversation of, is recruiting problematic? Is it broken? Are there flaws? Are there issues? And
where should it sit? Yada, yada.
Oh gosh, let's not get into where should it sit. But the truth, I'm a big believer that employer brand is the lever that makes recruiting better. Not recruiting, hiring better, talent.
Tell me more.
Look, if you know what you're all about and you talk about it, you're going to attract the people who want that, which makes you more that thing, right? When Facebook's all move fast and break things, do you think it hired boring people? No, it hired more people who went move fast and break things. I want some of that. And thus they became more move fast and break things. The company was more itself. And the more a company aligns to core simple ideas, the more it doesn't have to worry about outlier cases. The more it doesn't have to kind of figure out how to deal with the mess. They say, look, we have a core focus of what we're all about. Everybody line up or get out, and they can move way faster, way stronger. Now, did Facebook destroy democracy? Sure, that's certainly possible. But from an employer brand standpoint, it's strong, right? Goldman Sachs, super strong employer brand. You know exactly what you're getting. You know exactly why you show up. Do you want it? Maybe, maybe not. But that's not the question. The question is it crystal clear? And that's what's important.
So wait a minute. How is employer brand different from culture?
Ooh,
here we go. Definition.
Sorry. I mean, I was
love it.
Like I hear Goldman Sachs, and I'm like, that's kind of like a cult.
Command Z.
What you're going to put into it? Boom, boom, go. What do we got?
So let's start with this. Everybody, look, like the word strategy, like the word innovation, sometimes like the word EVP, your employer brand. Culture is one of those words where everybody goes, I know what a culture is. And you say, define it. And then there's like,
I was going to ask you.
So here's what a culture is. The behaviors of people inside a company when there is neither rules nor leadership to say otherwise. How do people act, behave? What do they do? What are the choices they make when there isn't a specific rule that says, when this happens, do that? When you know what the boss is expecting and you know what to do, what happens? So for example, there's this company and it's huge. And the leadership says, you know what? We got to be more diverse. We got to attract more of a diverse audience. And that's flawed and problematic on like 12 different levels, but it's a great intention. I love that. Okay. So the leadership says, we're going to have some diverse pools of candidates. Do recruiters do that? Do hiring managers do that? Or do they all find ways of circumnavigating this idea? Well, guess what? That's your culture. Not what leader says you are, but how you're behaving every single day. Your actual behaviors. That's your culture. Yes.
I got a question there.
Hit me.
And that's why I have a bone to pick with culture, because you're telling me that it's all about the behaviors in the day-to-day that make up our lives as we go to work, right? Who created the acceptable norms of professional behaviors and, unprofessional behaviors? Because that hit me early in my career and I just didn't get it. And it was like, you've been fired for unprofessional behavior. And I was like, wait, when was there a flyer that told me what was professional and what wasn't? Because I'm confused.
Wrong shade of lipstick, Christina. Wrong shade of lipstick.
Yeah.
Yeah, culture is like a pearl. Look, it doesn't start with a culture. Like the Netflix culture deck, which I adore for a lot of different reasons, didn't just spring fully formed once the company had hit 4,000 people or whatever that size was. It was an idea that sprung from early leadership, early staff. They understood what they liked. They talked about it when they're 10, 20, 50 people.
And they created their core principles.
They created some core principles, and beyond that, they lived up to them. And what I like about Netflix is that they didn't just say, that's a core principle. They defined it. They said, this is the shape of it, right? It's easy to say, we love our customers, really, like enough to go expect people to buy plane tickets, by themselves to fly to their customers to fix the customer's problem? No. Then how much do you care about your customers? There's limits, there's levels. What is the shape? What is the delineation of what that looks like? And that's true for every kind of value. And what happens is leadership talks about it. Leadership models it. They show what they like. They say, this is the kind of behavior that gets rewarded. It gets the bonus, it gets the kudos, it gets the promotions. All that stuff is how culture is built. It's ideas, it's what's rewarded, it's what's supported, and what connects the larger idea. And once you hit a couple of thousand people, then you can make a culture deck and say, okay, this is what we stand for, and have some good information that shows the shape of it. But it doesn't just spring up, right? The truth is, if you have 3 people in a room and a 4th one shows up, the culture of the room has changed from when it was 3 people to when it's 4 people. And if you're 100 people and the 101st person shows up, it still changes a lot less, but it still changes. So every time you hire or lose someone, your culture has an opportunity to shift. So having these kind of North Star ideas of this is what acceptable behavior is, this is what we expect from each other. And the problem is, to your point, a lot of those ideas are unstated. They're inferred. They're kind of between the lines. Everybody knows,
This was my first job, by the way. First job out of college.
Yeah, we all have horror stories of that first job out of college, and we made the dumbest mistakes that now you'd be like, oh my God, what was I thinking?
That wasn't my dumb mistake. It was theirs.
But at the time, you're like, this is fine, right? And so it's about understanding and unpacking what's real, not just saying, here are the platitudes, here are the 5 values we put on a poster. What do those things mean? And what are the limits of those things? That's culture. To get to Brian's question, he's below me, so I'm pointing down to him. Mm-hmm. The intersection of employer brand and culture is this. An employer brand is what you are offering, right? Your employer value proposition. Here is my value proposition to an employee. You get this. So if you're Goldman Sachs, we're going to work your ass off and you're going to hate your life for your 20s and into your 30s, but you're going to walk away rich. That is the value proposition. I'll give you this, you give me that. That's what it's all about. Now, what people want out of companies and what they want out of jobs are kind of 3 big buckets. Understanding the mission and value, the goal, right? What is the thing we're trying to do? What's the dent we're trying to make in the universe? Are we just, making money? Are we trying to make the world's greatest telecom? Are we making the best phone? Are we saving the whales? What are we doing here, folks? And if your mission is the real reason your company exists, a la SpaceX, a la World Wildlife Federation, right? Then your mission is your primary support of your value proposition. That's like maybe 5% of companies, right? Most companies we're a trucking company. We get your shit from point A to point B. We're a dental organization. We get your teeth clean. It's not a highfalutin, morally kind of, it's an amazing mission. So for the other 95, you have 2 choices. You can either say it's all about the reward. Work here and we pay you this much money. Work here and we give you status. Work here, we give you development, professional development. We give you something. It's a transactional model. Nothing wrong with that. That's why people work at Goldman Sachs so hard, because they know the transaction's a pretty high level transaction. But for most companies, it's the middle bucket that matters. It's the experience. What is the day to day? What is it like to work there? Are you collaborative? Are you competitive? Are you work-life balance focused? Are you work all day focused? What's your manager? Are they a micromanager or are they hands off? Do you have a lot of autonomy? Can you work from home? What is the day to day? One of those 3 buckets, that is the goal, the experience, or the reward, one of those things is the most important to your company, because usually it's by, you kind of a process of elimination. Well, we don't have a great mission and our rewards aren't that great. Well, let's talk about our experience. That's fine. That is where culture lives. In that experience, your behaviors around you inform your work experience. So I know it's a long journey to get here, but that's how those things intersect. If you have look at Goldman Sachs. Does anybody think they have a good culture? Probably not. It is a nightmare from which most people are trying to escape pretty hard, except for the fact that they were in golden handcuffs. They're not there for the culture. They're there for the reward. Some people would say working at a nonprofit, and I've been one of them, I've been there, nonprofits do not have good cultures because they're so obsessed with the mission. They don't have to worry about culture. It's companies that have neither a strong mission nor strong reward who have to say, yeah, the experience, the culture matters. And that's where the intersection happens.
All right. So let's talk about that intersection. instead of it being a road that leads to, you've described Goldman Sachs as building a moat that keeps people out, right?
Absolutely.
How does that affect a brand that is consumer focused, that's consumer driven, right? Like, I think about Amazon. Amazon, one of its leadership principles is that they're customer obsessed, right?
Yes.
We all love next day shipping. We all love it.
Love it.
But would we go to work for Amazon because we know what their culture looks like?
Yeah. And let's look at the way they describe their culture, I think, which I think is really important. You've seen how many, they're cut like a number of statements, like a 2-page document that have like the 18 or 17 or whatever they are. And I'm blanking on
leadership principles. Yep.
Yeah. And it's like, no meeting should be bigger than 2 pizzas can feed you. And like, there's stuff there that's a little quirky and fun, but that is their absolute kind of defining document of how they operate. It's their operating system manual. And I think that is their culture. What I like about that document, it isn't just platitudes like, hey, 2 pizzas, aren't we cute? It isn't, hey, we're customer obsessed. They talk about it. What does it mean at Amazon to be customer obsessed? And the way Amazon thinks about it is about how do you serve all customers, not that customer, all customers, because those are 2 very different things. Nordstrom's all about serving that customer. Zappos is all about serving that customer, that individual. You can pick up the phone and talk to them all day long, and that's completely okay. Amazon thinks about their customers as a huge mass of people, which, let's be fair, they've earned. And that's how they think about serving customers. So things like second day or next day shipping that's free would never be interesting to an individual customer. It's to their entire customer base. Describing when you say we care about our customers, which, let's be fair, technically doesn't every company care about their customers? Moving on.
Shouldn't they?
Don't they? And don't like 90%
and their people?
Their
people?
Yeah. So what do you mean? And that's really where the rubber meets the road. How much do you mean this? How much? And I go back to this, the basic kind of litmus test to these values and these ideas is, how much are you willing to sacrifice to achieve these ideas? Every customer says they care about their customer. Every company says they care about their customers. How many give free shit away? How many invest in airplanes to make sure there's second day air to everywhere in the United States or North America or wherever they do it? How many companies go the extra mile to make that happen? I'm going to say not so many. It's easy to say, hard to do. And the more you have to sacrifice or invest or whatever it costs to achieve that, that shows how much more you care about that value, how much of that value is real at the company, not some bullshit platitude that you stick on a poster on a wall and forget about immediately.
So basically, they're company actions that can be seen throughout every interaction from a consumer standpoint, right?
And isn't that what culture is? Isn't culture behavior? And aren't those behaviors the actions? It's all kind of one big tarball of ideas. I label as employer brand because I see it from that perspective. I know people who are culture fanatics, like Bud Cadello over at Noble. You've got Leandro Herrera, who has written some amazing books about how culture changes. They see... Hello. They see these ideas in a culture model. Some people see it in an employee experience model. Some people see it there's all sorts of ways to see these ideas. That's just my label.
All right. So wait a minute. We've talked about using it as a mode.
Sorry, guys. TikTok is making its grand debut, letting us know we have hit our live goal.
Nice.
Okay. That's awesome sauce. Love it. Welcome to the show, TikTok. We're happy that you're here. One of the things, though, that I want to talk about is when you're here, when you're in the seat at the company, how does employer brand keep you invested in the organization? Not just a magnet to attract, but a magnet to keep you in the seat.
Absolutely.
100%. It's like the Kool-Aid.
Exactly. But it's all connected. So think about it. Why did you join a company? And I have a model that's roughly 10 big ideas. It's status, it's development, it's money, it's support, it's mission, it's 10 different ideas. And one of them is probably the core reason why you showed up. And let's say it's autonomy, right? Just because for whatever reason, let's just pick one. You saw an ad that says, hey, if you worked here, you'd have a lot more choices and options. You could be in control of your destiny. And I say, oh, that's really interesting. I like autonomy. Clicking link. I read the job posting. It talks about autonomy. I like autonomy. I click apply. We go to the candidate screen. The recruiter talks about autonomy. I say, yeah, let me tell you a story about how much I care about autonomy. I get to go to the interview. It's about autonomy, 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 autonomy. To the point where at the end of that process, when they're sliding the virtual piece of paper across the table with the number on it, I don't go, this is a company that says they care about autonomy. I go, this is a company that cares about autonomy. And I have seen proof points along the way. And in fact, if a recruiter or hiring manager is really good at this, they don't say, here's the offer. They say, we know you are super excited for the level of autonomy we offer here, because that's the ad you clicked on. That's the conversation. That's the narrative thread of our whole conversation here. And you should know by now you're getting a lot of autonomy, which is why we're thrilled to make you an offer, blah, blah, blah. Because that conversation makes the conversation not about what's the number on the paper, but about the total value. It's the offer plus the amount of autonomy I see. Those things are additive. That's how I see the total value picture. To Brian's question, though, I show up. I accept the offer. We negotiate. I say yes. I show up. I put my butt in the seat, and every single day I get more autonomy than I've gotten in other companies. Great. So it's pretty clear that I like autonomy. Company X over there goes, hey, Jim, because they don't know me. They think my name is Jim. Hey, Jim, do you want to work in a place that offers a lot of autonomy? Now, recruiters, this is where I have to say that I love you, but this is why people think that a lot of people see you as used car salespeople, is because you're showing up with a claim. Hey, we have a lot of autonomy, and that's good, but the claim isn't enough, because I'm living. I am soaking in it. I am soaking in autonomy. I have proof points as far as the eye can see. If you, Mr. or Miss Recruiter, want to show me you have it, you can't just claim it. You got to show me. You got to send me some videos and some content and some stories and some proof points. And then maybe I'll go, okay, maybe this is worth considering. But most recruiters just go, do you want this? I have this. Let's apply. That is how employer brand creates retention, because it's a difference between a claim from the outside and proof points from the inside, which is why your employer brand can't just be some tacked on, hey, it's cool to work here. You know, Universum's data says that everybody likes work-life balance. So that's what we're going to talk about this year. That's what the fad, that's what the fashion, right? Let's talk about that. Is it true to you? Is it authentic? Is that the reality I'm going to see there? If you create that alignment where what you talk about out in the real world is the same as what you see every single day, you are far less likely to walk away for it, because where are you going to get more in a credible fashion?
All right. About a credible fashion. What happens when a leader or somebody who is not the leader, maybe per se, not Steve Jobs, but maybe Johnny Ive when he leaves Apple? What does that do to the employer brand value proposition?
There's a lot of math that gets involved. Like Johnny Ives is a kind of a wild case study, and everybody knows that when you invoke Apple, it's just nothing but exceptions. There's more exceptions to Apple than rules, right? And it's hard to kind of project a lot of good ideas from Apple because there's so much an outlier, right?
Yeah.
But the way he left was about, I have achieved this, I have achieved this, I have been part and parcel with this, and then this guy died, and then I achieved this, and now it's like, look, I've done what I can. And Johnny Ives is not about, I need autonomy. Johnny Ives is going to get autonomy wherever the hell he goes. Johnny Ives dictates terms. Johnny gets to pick. But what he's saying is, I have achieved everything I can achieve here. The way management is structured, I don't believe I can achieve as much as I want to. I'm looking for what's next. So that's where Johnny lives. But what that tells candidates is there more ramp up? Is there more growth? And that's a very interesting Apple question, where you go from super innovative, trying really hard, but Steve Jobs is kind of a total jerk and being a jerk to everybody, versus Tim, management, measured, but not so much the innovation. It is a reflection of what the company is thinking and doing when a person like Johnny Ives leaves the company. You had a question.
I did.
You did one of these.
Yeah, I know I do that.
Waiter, I'd like a check.
It's my. If you don't tune in, a lot of people say that I ramble and I cut people off and I interrupt. So that's my new way of like, it's like an I where like, I'm like, I want to interrupt, but I will not.
We'll get you a little bell, a little ding-a-ling. Oh, Cristina has something to say.
I learned like this. Yeah. So we're all good to go. But I was thinking as you were speaking. So as an employee for a company, how do you use employer brand to your favor to grow yourself? Because like I don't want to, I'm just going to ask that question and leave it at there.
When you say grow, you mean the person grows or the company grows?
The person.
That's a good question.
Okay. Yeah. So
the worker, the person working.
And that's the value of lid and the pot matching up. Look, when I talked about there's a great company and a horrible company, the truth is they were not good or bad companies. They were good or bad companies for me. To someone else, they would have flipped it and said, no, James, that company sucked. You wanted to work. That was what. It's because of how you approach work, what your expectations are, what you're looking for, all the ways you like, you're trying to find a match. That's what it's about. And that's where employer brand matters, because without employer brand, every company says we're a great company to work for. Every company says we have a fantastic culture. What's the culture? We have a fantastic culture. Isn't that enough? Shut up. I put the badge on the career site. We're good, right? That's all you got to know. We have a great culture.
Yeah, but then you got your bad reviews coming in.
But the thing,
reviews are good for business. Good for business.
Yes. So the thing is that when you understand what you're offering and you're clear about how you're different, and this is where, look, here's a good example. Deloitte and EY are functionally the same company. They do the same stuff. They are located in the same places. They're about the same size. They hire pretty much roughly the same kind of people. They are the Coke and Pepsi of the big 3.5, right? Now, if I was an accountant or I was a consultant, I would see those differences writ large, right? In the same way that if I love Coke or I love Pepsi, those differences are huge.
Yeah.
I'm an employer brand consultant. I don't know jack about the difference between EY and Deloitte, but because I'm not in it. The thing about it is when you're choosing a company, you can't just assume people know the difference between a Deloitte and EY. They both invest a lot of money and time and effort and energy to try and show that difference. One cares more about professional development. One cares more about achievement. Is it subtle? Yes, but if you're depending on the audience you're talking to, it doesn't feel as subtle. To me, it feels subtle because it's not supposed to speak to me. It might as well be speaking Italian, and I can't, if it doesn't say pasta, what do I know? So that is where employer brand matters, because it shows who you are, what you value, what you're offering, which ultimately leads to the core idea, which is this is how this company is different from the millions of other companies you could be working at. People want to make a choice, and you can't choose between Coke and Pepsi if you think Coke and Pepsi are exactly the same.
They're not.
They are not. And if an alien came down, the aliens would go, chemically the identical. That's like, what are you talking about? What's the deal? Like Ford versus Chevy. To me, identical.
You're stepping it with Cristina.
No, you better pipe down, okay?
I'm just saying.
Versus Pepsi was enough.
If you don't know what the difference is from the outside, the differences are hard to see. They're almost impossible to see. Companies are the same way. They just assume people know we're this way, but they don't invest in, okay, what are we really about? What are we really offering? Why do people really like wanting to be here? How are we different? And how do we tell people about that difference? It's all about employer brand ultimately boils down to how are you different from millions of other companies who are all pretty much saying, we have a great company. We have a great culture. The people here are fantastic. They're all kind of saying the same stuff.
What is Chevy's GM's tagline? Do either of you know? Because I don't.
What's that?
Chevy or GM or do you know that? Okay, Bill Ford. That is employer branding.
Yeah.
All right. So wait a minute. There's something I want to get away from here. Is I feel that when we're talking about employer branding, that we're having conversations about come here, it's going to be a launch pad for your career. You're going to make millions, as opposed to the graveyard of forgotten dreams. I want to know how we keep employees engaged and we keep them innovated so they're valued as partners and it isn't some kind of sick blood oath.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, I'm going to take a tangent, which is going to feel weird, but I'm going to bring it back. I promise. We all know that Glassdoor is a review score of our company, right? That is what Glassdoor has spent the last 10 years telling us. It's utter horse crap. What it is a score of how well recruiters and hiring managers set expectations. If this company is a blast to work at, it's fun, it's puppy dogs and daisies, it's tickle fights every Thursday, and you get that, you get 5 stars. If you promise that and you don't give that, you get 1 star. If you say this company is really tough, we push each other really, really hard, there are going to be long days, the rewards are worth it, but this, and you get that, 4 or 5 stars. Not good or bad, it's expectation management.
And I've never thought about it that way, and you are so spot on. In my experiences that are ADHD going through my head right now, I'm thinking to myself about candidates that I've hired as a recruiter that I know have been laid off. And if I go look at that company's job page on Glassdoor, I guarantee they're not going to have their crazy written reviews on there because I set the expectation pretty dang clear.
Yeah. You have to know and look, I know I'm talking to a lot of recruiters, and I know recruiters do an amazing job. And Brian knows I have nothing but love for recruiters. I have nothing but.
You compared them to car salesmen.
Yeah, well, sometimes that's the problem. I don't say they want to be, but they're often put in that box where they're given very little content, very little differentiation. What they say, congratulations, you're the brand new recruiter. Now go off and go find some candidates. Well, how are we different from other companies? Shut up, go out and find some candidates. We're not arming our recruiters very well. So they end up having to use whatever tactic they can get their hands on to drive people to show up. Employer branding is the strategy that says, don't talk about that, talk about these things. Not just because everybody likes these ideas, but because that's actually what we offer. It creates validation. You're not out saying, what's it going to take to get you into this job? We're saying, this is what we offer. Do you want that? No? Great. I wish you nothing but success. Oh, you do? Let's have a conversation. And you're supporting those recruiters with proof points like videos and awards and data points and internal engagement scores, all sorts of stuff to say, when we say we care about autonomy, for example, this is what we mean. These are all the ways that is true. So that a candidate goes, I get what I'm getting into. Most recruiters are there to say, I have this job opportunity. Do you want it? And I know this. And I know this, and I know this because that is what the recruiters are selling me. And the truth is, what are you selling me? I don't know what you're selling.
Dude, that is such shitbox recruiting. Okay.
Exactly. 100% agree.
I'll get in trouble for that tomorrow. I'll take that up. I'm now getting blown up that I called it shitbox recruiting.
No, but it's fair. It's fair. The problem is here's the deal. Recruiters did not go to school for recruiting. We all know recruiters backed into it, fell into it. We all know those stories. And what they did, exactly. And what they did is they got the job. They stared at the person next to them who'd been doing this for 10 years and went, oh, that's the job. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what they think the job is. And 50% of recruiters do not go, how do I get better? I better go find out what Brian Fink thinks. Well, how do I get better at this idea? They don't. They just think the job is this box, and that's what they do. And they were taught, post the jobs, go hassle some people on LinkedIn, repeat. And good recruiting is not that. And we all agree on that. The problem is there's too many recruiters out there who think just being that shitbox recruiter is good enough. Now,
that's the pay grade they're at, and they're either in-house and they just don't care. And
exactly. So to Brian's earlier question about expectations, that's the game. You hire people and you keep people because you've given and set expectations. They choose based on the information they have. And too often we all make choices based on minimal information. We do the best we can, but that's where employer branding is trying to make this job more effective. It's trying to give that supporting evidence, give that validating information so that when the recruiter says, hey, this is a place that's incredibly innovative, it doesn't sound like whatever it could think of, to whatever they thought of to get the candidate to show up. There's 12 tons of information that say, this is what we mean by innovation. When you set those expectations, when you prove those expectations, when people show up in the seat, that's what they're expecting to get every single day. And when you give people what they expected to get, they're thrilled. They are thrilled. So it doesn't have to be, we have to have a culture that's like this. It doesn't have to be, we have to offer these benefits. It doesn't even have to be, and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but here we are. It doesn't even have to be, we'll let you work from anywhere whenever you want. Some people want that.
I love that one.
Some people don't. And that's the thing is we're so driven by the news stories that say 61% of all candidates, when asked randomly by some reporter they've never met, said, yeah, I think working from home all day sounds great. Will it change how they make choices? I don't know. But also do the math. That means 39% of people have no problem coming in. So that's the thing. We got to understand that even if you're Amazon and you're hiring 150,000 people in a year, you only need 5x, 10x of that number of people who want to work there for you to win. So if you're hiring 100 people this year, you only need 1,000 people to go, that sounds amazing. If you're hiring 100 people, you do not need the world to think you're the world's greatest employer. That doesn't serve you. That just clogs up your ATS with people you'd never want to touch. What you need to be is crystal clear about what you offer, how you're different, so the person who wants what that thing is can find you. And it's not lost in the noise of, we're here, we're great, join us, all that other garbage.
So let me ask you this. What do you think as far as trends that are in the employer branding that, let's say, employers that maybe aren't doing the best with their brand, what can they jump on? What bandwagon can they ride to do better for us all?
That's actually a really interesting question, because I think over the last 2 or 3 years, especially when COVID hit, we saw this influx of, employer brand's really important. And so they hired people to do it. Now I'm going to tell you, there are not a lot of people who are experienced employer branders. And so what they did is they hired recruiters who seemed to have a flair for design or, Photoshop, or most likely they hired their social media person who thought employer branding sounded more interesting. And they said, that's what it is. And because because they didn't have an employer brand director or someone who understood all the things it could do, they kind of jumped in this tiny little box that said social media, or employer brand is posting on LinkedIn, posting on Instagram. Employer brand is making pretty pictures, making pretty words. It jumped into this tiny little box, and that's what they thought they were supposed to do. Now, me and a lot of other people are here banging the drum as hard as we can to say employer brand is so much bigger than pretty pictures. It is so much more than pretty words. It is so much more than the platitudes and bullshit you're posting on LinkedIn to look good. It's about, what do you offer? How are you different? Now, frickin' prove it. That is important. Storytelling, content development, narrative, proof points, surveys, like a million ways you can do it. I'm a big believer that I'm completely tech agnostic. I'm completely tactic agnostic. Whatever you have, use it, because you can. I don't care who you are. You have a way of telling your particular story. Otherwise, you wouldn't exist as a company. I'm sorry. If your company isn't any different than the next company, you don't exist. You just disappear. So,
all right. You've mentioned surveys like 4 times, and I don't know what the purpose of a survey is. I hate doing them.
I hate doing them too. Totally agree. And most companies are crap at them. Most companies say, we're going to survey people. Now what? Oh, we're going to survey people. It's like, wait, what happened in the last one? Shut up. We're going to do another survey. It doesn't lead to anything. And I'm really here to say, look, it's very easy to say and to claim, hey, our company cares about innovation or customers or autonomy or whatever it is. It's a different model altogether to say, our company cares about autonomy, and 87% of all staff who work here agree with us. That's an interesting survey fact. That is how you start to extract data about what you're automatically doing, engagement data or staff engagement data, to say, this is what people think about this company. And you connect those dots to say, if this is what we're claiming and we have lots of proof points, the next step is, okay, well, how do I take that proof point and turn it into something interesting, like a story, like a video, like a testimonial, and you just pull it apart and pull it apart and pull it apart. The survey is there to provide a data point, because there's a certain audience who goes, you can tell me 400 stories, but I'm going to pretend that that's an outlier. Oh, you're telling me 86% of people here believe that? That's useful. It's about hitting people. There's no one way people are proved. It's about hitting them in lots of different directions. I feel like I was half answering the last question. I was going to go someplace and I don't remember what the question was.
No, I jumped in the middle with story time, without storytelling.
Yeah.
And kind of reared us off, because it just came into my head. And I just feel like, as employer branding is so important to a company starting out, pre-start, startup, and then, as you get bigger and you become the Apple, right? At every stage, employer branding is super important. And the things that come to me when I think of employer branding from, somebody who's been in recruitment globally, 9 years, now I'm in sales, and I am very proud to have pivoted. No shade to the recruiters, but sometimes, the used car sales, like, I almost thought about that while I was laid off. I almost did it. And I just think that, as far as employer branding goes, storytelling seems to be one thing that I think that, when I think about the brands that get it right, they really paint the picture.
Yeah. Well, look at Facebook. And I mentioned Facebook before. The Move Fast and Break Things thing was not an employer brand initiative. It was just a idea of how they operated, how this, and honestly, not just how they operated, but what made Facebook different from most other companies. That's all that statement was supposed to say. We're not like them. We're just here to move fast and break things. And that idea is so true to their DNA. It might as well be written on each little chromosome, on each little CTGT, whatever it is, that it's so true of who they were, that you just have to go, this is what we're offering because this is how we're different. It becomes their de facto employer brand. And it's very easy to find stories about that. Now, that doesn't happen every day. I wish it would. I wish it was so clear that companies are willing to talk about how they're different so that you can go, oh, that's interesting. I don't hear that very often. Take it, unpack it, tell stories about that. Brian.
All right. So what I'm wondering is, are they not telling stories because they're watering things down with Anthropic and Claude and ChatGPT?
That's part of it. The part of it, the big challenge is, there's a line. Bud Cadell said it from Noble, and I think he's fantastic, but he comes from a very different viewpoint. He goes, everybody wants to be unique. Nobody wants to be different. And that statement kind of makes my hair fall out of my head. Yes, that's what it did. That's how it all happened.
That gave me a different reaction too.
But it's so true. Businesses love saying they're unique, but they're terrified of doing anything that everybody else isn't doing. How many people, show of hands in the comments, how many people have been in a meeting where no one knows what to do and someone goes, well, what does Google do? What does Amazon do? What does Facebook do? And I'm like, I don't know. What does it matter? Are you Google? Are you Amazon? Are you Facebook? If not, shut the hell up. I don't go, hey, I should learn how to play basketball. Who should I emulate? I know LeBron, because he's like a foot taller than me and like has 400 pounds more muscle than I am and can do a standing leap. No, I got to play basketball like I play basketball. That's the only way I can do it. I can't pretend I'm somebody else. That's never going to work. That's what matters. Companies need to be able to say, this is how we're different. But the problem is companies are so driven by basic marketing tactic one, or basic marketing tenet 101 is more is always better. You want more leads. You want more customers. You want more shelf space. You want more share of wallet. You want more share of voice. You want more impressions and clicks and eyeballs. You want more. And that's great because more leads to more money, because in sales and marketing, every dollar is a good dollar.
Mm-hmm.
In recruiting, hold on, let me finish that. In recruiting, every candidate is not a good candidate. It's not. So you don't want more, you want fewer, better. It's about quality, not quantity. And that is a thing that marketing, if you explain it to them with an Etch-a-Sketch and a whiteboard, they still would not get it. They just do not understand what that is. I might as well speak in a different language. And they are the ones telling marketing more. They're the ones telling leadership more. And here we are saying better, not more, and we get drowned out. Now, throw in ChatGPT, et cetera, et al, chat OMG. Yes, that's going to water it down even more, because the truth is Claude and ChatGPT, when it says the cat is black, it doesn't know what a cat is. It doesn't know what the color black is. And frankly, it doesn't know what the word is means. It doesn't understand. It's just throwing words together. It doesn't know anything about you. You can leverage ChatGPT tools, and I do. I like them, not to say generate some content, but more to say, look, if I audit 4 companies, I might be having a good day at the first 2 and a bad day at the next 2. That is going to color my thinking. It's going to color my impressions on what I'm seeing. But if I ask ChatGPT to evaluate 4 brands, it's going to do it from a static, objective point of view. And I need that. That is super handy, because it's going to see stuff that I, having a good day or a bad day, will color what I'm seeing as. That's places where ChatGPT and AI tools are really helpful.
You said marketing teams, and I don't want to, just like, are there a lot of marketing teams still alive? We still out there? We hanging in there? Are we okay?
Yeah. Sorry, guys. And that's the truth. And look, and if I'm talking to my marketing friends, and you are my friends because I am one of you, more than I'm a recruiter. I've never recruited. I don't hide that fact. I am a marketer first. I'm not talking about sales qualified leads. I'm not talking about marketing qualified leads. I'm not talking about direction. I'm saying that if I, James Ellis, who lives in an apartment building in Chicago, called up Boeing and said, I need you to send me a jet engine. Here's a check for $2 million. They would ask me where I wanted it delivered. To them, every dollar is a good dollar.
If you got $2 million and you want a jet, they're like,
exactly. But but they're smart enough to know not to market to me. That'd be stupid. But if I said I got the money, they would say yes. Now,
so identifying your target audience.
There's target audience, and then there's understanding that there's the best choice within that spot. Remember, Boeing does not have just the one engine it can sell me. It could have hundreds of engines if I asked for it. They don't have a quantity limit like the recruiter does. They got the one rec. They can put one butt in the one seat, so they better put the best butt in there. Brian.
So James, what I want to ask is, can you share with our audience what programmatic advertising is and maybe how that is influential in picking out the right candidate and marketing the employer brand value proposition to them at the right time?
You just spoke a different language to me.
Speaking.
I mean, I've been out of the recruitment world for like 10 seconds. I don't know what you just said.
You want a depanada?
I just should have got a cronut today. I didn't.
Did you have a cronut?
Delicious.
No, I got conferences coming up. I can't be eating cronuts.
Anyway, let's talk about programmatic. A problem with programmatic, the way recruiting does it, is that marketing does not, and I say this with love, does not respect recruiting. Okay. Marketing knows that recruiters can barely spell programmatic media for the most part and will sell them garbage all day long. Don't worry, marketers. Those same companies will sell marketers the same garbage. They'll just change the words. The way programmatic media works, if you read Bob Hoffman and all his books and all his newsletters, he is so good about unpacking how $1 spent in programmatic marketing, anywhere from 25 to 50% of that money disappears and no one knows where it goes. And so you think you're using programmatic marketing to target audiences. What you're really doing is targeting demographics. And what do you care about? Are you trying to target white dudes? You're not supposed to do that. You really shouldn't do that. How do you target? And so you can use programmatic media to say, look, if you look at certain groups, if you follow certain magazines, not demographics. I hate the demographic side. If you watch, look, here's a good one.
Like geolocation, maybe.
No, I go farther. Let's say you read The Verge. Okay. And I am of, that, and that's for nerds. And there's a certain kind of person who tends to read that versus a TechCrunch. Okay. Suddenly, those two magazines, which are talking about the same thing, they're not, but they're kind of talking about the same thing. You start to realize they're different audiences. They're different approaches. The Verge is a little more consumer focused. It's a little more friendly. TechCrunch is a little more about what's the money, what's the deal, who's buying who's growing. They're talking about similar products. But if you say, I need someone who cares about the deal, not about the user interface thinking, you say, do they visit TechCrunch? People who visit TechCrunch are more likely to be the audience I want to hire, and vice versa. I think for the most part, programmatic media gets away with murder, and it's expensive murder. Let's not kid ourselves. Yeah, because most recruiting teams are not that savvy, and I don't mean that pejoratively. It's just that everything is shrouded and covered in layer after layer after layer of where does this ad actually show up? Who saw this ad? And marketing will never be able to tell you that stuff. So I think of programmatic as a dangerous investment. You have to be incredibly precise. You have to be incredibly kind of diligent and focused on it. Most companies just go, they treat it like the end of a wheel of fortune. I'll just put the last $500 on programmatic, Alex, and let's just go, right? They just throw money at it and they say, oh, the ad will go where it's supposed to go. Spoiler, no, it won't. All the media cares about is that you spent the money. They will show it next to Nazi propaganda videos if they can. They don't care. That's not what this is for. And it's impossible for someone buying programmatic to actually audit all that information. So it's super dangerous. You've got to be super diligent about it.
Okay. The other thing that I know we have 10 minutes left. We've had such an interactive audience on TikTok. I see everyone here.
Where are the people on the LinkedIn.com?
You know what?
Quiet.
We unlocked the LinkedIn unlocked page. So we shifted, but I know we're going to get them on the replays. If they're not here now, they'll catch us, and I will chop this up into tidbits for, easier digestibility.
Lift and shift.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Nip and tuck this thing.
Thank you for that, especially that last one.
Oh, girl.
Yeah. So,
Just
but
kinda
I wanted to
pull
say,
the skin back. I'll just give
I have
myself plastic surgery.
for my own like selfish needs.
Please, that's all there are.
Okay, I'm in a new role, and for some, if you're, let's say you're an employee, you're starting out in a new industry, right?
Yep.
How do you convince your employer that social media is worth the spend, or like worth the time, or worth the investment?
Yeah. Worth the squeeze.
Yeah. Like, how do you prove that and show it and sell that to you?
Here's what I say. Anybody listening, TikTok, LinkedIn, wherever, have you been through a career site redesign? Anybody? Anybody still? How painful are those scars there, sir? They are.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly,
they are.
It made me feel really old right there.
I'm sorry, but here we are.
With a career site rebuild. Wow.
They're painful. And the reason why they're painful is because everybody and their dog shows up to those meetings and everybody has an opinion on what should be on the career site. The recruiters are going, we just need to say A, B, and C. And the rest of the companies like, don't say A, that doesn't sound good, because it's all about good. And instead, let's throw this in. And hey, let's, instead of saying something interesting at the top of the career site, they just say openings, opportunities, hiring, whatever, some bullshit label.
I hate that word. I hate the word opportunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You know what? LinkedIn creating opportunities where?
Yeah, exactly. So the problem is anybody who's gone through a career site rebuild knows that it takes 2 to 3 times longer than it reasonably should. It's what gets delivered is 2 to 3 times weaker than it really should be. It's way more painful. You aren't releasing it. You are giving birth to it. You are pushing it through a very narrow aperture and hoping to God it looks okay on the other side, right? Not to be too specific, but I have a 9-year-old that gets to make that joke. And at the end of that process, if I were to say, hey, you know what? Are you sick of the career site already? Go, yeah. Would you like to make some changes? God, no. And you never want to touch the career site ever again, which is why most career sites are like 3 to 5 years old and out of date, because nobody wants to update them. And they're boring. They are compromise on compromise. The legal person doesn't like this, and HR said you got to have that taken out, and you've got to, and everything's compromised. And it's like it's weak toast. It's crap. Why? And why am I saying this? Because that's social media. Because social media is the beating heart of what your company cares about now.
Yes,
now.
That's what I wanted on record.
Now.
Yeah. Command Z.
Now, while your career site is 4,000 people and their shared idea of what should be acceptable out in the real world 3 years ago, social media is probably the 26-year-old kid and the lawyer they've convinced to not bug them too much. And that's what they're pushing out. It is a far more direct, unfiltered, uncut, raw presentation of what the company is caring about now. Could it be like way better without spending any money? Infinitely. And I'm happy to talk about that all day long. We're out of time. I know that, but it's not so much about spending money on the ads. It's not about generating audience. It's about
awareness, right?
The candidate goes, the recruiter says you care about innovation. The career site looks like every other freaking career site I've ever seen. This is not useful. I'm going to go to LinkedIn. Show me. That is the place that it's so easy to show what you really mean. To talk about, to share stories, to share videos, to share testimonials, to share quotes, to share. And then you take all the other stuff that is not directly employer brand stuff and you tweak it ever so slightly to support the employer brand, even if it's about your CFO going to some conference talking about money, guys, right? That's all it is, right? It's just about saying, and when you get that award, you don't go, hey, we're so thrilled we won this award. Next post. You say, what we care about at this company is autonomy, and we invest a lot of time in developing our autonomy. We talk about and think about autonomy a lot, and it's really exciting to see that effort reflected in this award. It's not that hard. I just did it off the top of my head. Every post should say something connected to the brand because it can. That is where employer brand matters, because it tells you, because your social media person on LinkedIn is going, okay, you're allowed to post on LinkedIn. They go,
that's me.
What do I do? I can say anything. And it's deer in the headlights. Employer brand says, change the aperture, focus on this idea, and talk about anything you want through that lens. And suddenly, social media's job is way more easy and more effective because they're not throwing spaghetti against the wall, seeing what sticks. They're focusing on a core idea, and every individual post simply supports more the existing understanding of that company.
I needed that. Thank you.
Anytime.
And I literally am that person that has just gotten the LinkedIn, and I'm like, okay.
So wait a minute. LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn
Yes.
is special. LinkedIn is not coming through for us today. But
Hey,
James, you mentioned video.
Microsoft has had some problems lately, so maybe we can cut LinkedIn
something
just that
like
much
a
slack.
phenomenon.
Some problems that have really affected me. Okay.
Okay. So wait a minute.
Yeah.
James, we talked about video.
Yeah.
Video on TikTok or video on YouTube?
Yes.
Where do I need to be?
Yes.
Both? What?
Yes.
Yes.
How hard is it to get yourself a $150 Opus clip system? And you
I have it up here.
I got that too.
Please.
Everybody's got that. And you know why? Because it flipping works. You take
Wait, I never use it.
Oh, you should. You take the 5-minute YouTube video, you say, here's the URL, Opus, and it goes, here's 10 YouTube clips for you from that material. Pow, 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 and vice versa. It's just, look, you're not telling different stories.
So it's another AI. It's like another AI cutter.
It finds the good stuff, it trims it down and delivers it, and you can change shapes and it automatically captions and all that stuff. There's no right answer. But the truth is they've made it so easy to be on both at the same time for about the same amount of work as to being on one. I'm a YouTuber. I get YouTube.
Wait,
I understand YouTube. TikTok, because I'm old. TikTok is for the kids. I don't necessarily.
But Trick loves the kids. He loves the kids.
Daddy loves the kids.
But I know just enough of YouTube, of a LinkedIn, or sorry, TikTok to be dangerous, but I don't really get TikTok. So I just go take the video from YouTube, which I understand, and let the software figure out the best way to put that out. Is it going to generate $1 million?
Oh.
No. But if I can be there for free, I will be there for free.
Yeah. Okay. We only have a few minutes. I don't understand YouTube.
Okay. So real quick, things that were takeaways. Trick loves the kids. 2, yep. Cristina and I are getting Opus. 3,
we have Opus.
3, tell an authentic story to each and individual. Whoa.
Authentic is the buzzword. Authentic is the buzzword. Woo! And when people say authentic, what they're saying is, I am morally superior for being authentic. Like there's some sort of like weight and gravitas that comes with being authentic. I don't care. I don't give a tiny little rat's butt. What I want to know is when you're telling me something out by a recruiter and I'm looking at the stuff and I'm talking to a candidate that I can put together a picture of what I should expect when I work there. That's all as a candidate I want. That is all I want. Now,
you just want the truth, right? Is that best for us to ask for the truth?
But the truth, it's the truth, not because it's God came down with tablets and said, this is what it is, but more about this is who we are right now. And this is the best we could describe it. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. Every time you hire someone, the culture changes, the company changes, it grows, things happen, good things happen.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. But all you can do is say, today we're hiring you. This is what you should expect when you're here. And this is how it's different from everybody else. It's not authentic is good. It's authentic is just effective.
Yeah, 100%. People, what's the word I'm looking for? Authentic.
Je ne sais quoi. You've used that a few times in different episodes.
Yes. Je ne sais quoi. Not authentic, but like when you're real, when you're your raw self, and you are in a recruitment seat and you're talking to. I mean, I've been in it a million times where I'm, talking to somebody for a contractor role, and they're talking about the difference. But is it wrong of me to say what really is the difference between W-2 and contract? Like,
you should talk about that. This is the real thing. This is what's going on. And this is why talking about what's not great about the company, because no such thing as a perfect company, no such thing as an all wins all the time.
Always,
company.
yeah.
And every company has
skeletons.
But every company has strengths. The problem is we stop there but the strengths have their own inherent weakness. If you're incredibly innovative, you're also probably a little chaotic. If you're incredibly collaborative, you're probably a little slow. Just it takes a while to make decisions. Yeah. It's a natural offshoot of who your strengths are about. And if you can't talk about them, you're missing out, because not only is it being authentic, it actually proves the strengths you want people to believe about you. If I want people to believe that you get a lot of autonomy at my company, I want to talk about how it's a little chaotic because we expect you to make the rules for us. That is a great response on Glassdoor when people say the inmates are running the asylum. I have no idea what's going on because it's chaos. And you say, but that's what we offer. And so suddenly by walking in and say, yeah, it's a little chaotic because we offer a lot of autonomy. We expect you to help us understand. I'm not going to turn a 1-star rating into a 5-star, but what I can do is suddenly that 1-star proves all the good things I'm saying about autonomy. That's where authentic matters. It's not so much about, it makes you feel good or it is good. It's just that it creates more proof.
Proof as in truth.
Speaking of proof, you have proven exactly why I freaked out when you were in Christina's inbox on LinkedIn saying you wanted to be on the big show. James, I am super grateful to have had you on the show. I'm grateful that we'll be hanging out at Rec Fest in Nashville.
As long as we keep going on TikTok, I'll be there.
All right, cool.
No, this has been a blast. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, and anybody, catching the replay, we will be on again next week, Monday, 5 o'clock. We've changed.
5
so
o'clock
that everybody,
Eastern.
Yep. And it will be on the 29th, 5 o'clock.
Somebody might be having a birthday that day. I don't know.
I don't know.
All right,
anyone.
party people. We'll see you soon. Thank you, James.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.